After a couple of American tourists are attacked by a creature, David, the only survivor, is on the end of a terrible curse which will be released come the next full moon. He's a werewolf. I mean, it's in the name of the movie. This is my uneducated opinion on the movie An American Werewolf in London. So this video is just going to contain some spoilers, as the movie's been out for, I don't know, decades. If you're going to be like me that has never watched this movie before, then that's on you. Just go and watch it. It's a good movie. You'll enjoy it, I hope. I'm still in a little bit of disbelief of why it took me so long to eventually watch this movie. When I was younger, I got first introduced to the whole lore of werewolves and vampires, and I fell in love with it from the movie Van Helsing with the great Hugh Jackman. Don't comment on that. I know. It's my guilty pleasure, so back off. Seeming as this movie has got such a small, compact, simple story in the runtime of just over an hour and a half, it's got a smallish cast, which is really helpful in telling that story and getting used to many of the characters that are involved. That cast includes David Norton and Griffin Dunn, playing the two Americans that are on a vacation through the countrysides of northern England in Yorkshire. The thing that took me off guard quite quickly with this movie is when the two Americans was talking about one of them wanting to have sex with a woman and, quote, she has no choice.
I have to make love to her. It's really very simple. She has no choice.
But then again, I started thinking that maybe they had Welsh in their heritage, and, you know, seeming as they was on the back of that truck, all those beautiful looking single ladies was probably setting them off. I'm sorry, sheep. They are sheep. I know, I've got Welsh in my heritage. It's fine, I can make this sort of jokes. The single ladies did look very gorgeous. John Woodvine plays the Doctor in this movie, and other cast members I quickly wanted to roll off since I was quite surprised that they had small cameos in this, includes the likes of Frank Oz, Rick Mayall, and David Schofield. Lastly, Jenny Agutter plays the nurse Alex, who cares for David in the hospital. One of the more notable things in this movie regarding Alex's character is when she was describing to David the fact that nurses' work is barely able to afford basic things in shops. So nothing's changed then. Now let's get into the real reason why we all watch this movie and why it is considered a cult classic. The practical effects in this movie is incredible. It is terrifying. The first transformation that you see is genuinely amazing. It holds up after all these years considering, and with there being so many other different like werewolf interpretations, this has still got to be up there, isn't it, with how good it looks? It's gross, disturbing, uncomfortable to watch. It is so impressive. And the way that David portrays going through the bodily changes is really well acted, and it's one of the, obviously, highlights of the movie. I really love how they don't show a full shot of the werewolf in most of the movie. They only give quick close-ups of like when the attacks are happening, and maybe a full shot from a distance, more notably the moment where they are in the London Underground and you see the werewolf come in, but it's quite a distance away. And because they have the quick cuts and the long distance shots of the werewolf, it lets your imagination run wild about what it actually looks like. Similar to what they did with Jaws, because they only showed the shark at the very end of that movie. It is terrifying because they don't show it as often. And with them showing more of the werewolf towards the end of the movie, it gives that sort of satisfying reward to the audience when they show it off in its full glory. And not surprising in the slightest when I researched it, and this movie won the inaugural Academy Award for Best Makeup, which is an award that is won by the classics including The Fly, Beetlejuice, Terminator 2, The Lord of the Rings, Fellowship, and Return of the King. Wait, and also the Suicide Squad? What? The movie can be a little bit up and down in regards to the story for me personally, but let's just try and get the positives out of the way. The scenes which include the David's nightmares, they are really disturbing and creepy, and I actually really like the scenes where Jack is explaining the curse. I told you already, I am a sucker for like the lore of werewolves and how that comes about. It's disturbing to watch and actually quite funny. You have quotes like,
Have you ever talked to a corpse? It's boring. I'm lonely.
And then going into everyone the werewolf kills is stuck in this sort of limbo trance until the bloodline of the werewolf has ceased. I really like how when the movie progresses, you see the decomposition of all the victims in limbo, especially Jack, as you see him going from just having really grotesque looking scars and cuts to him just effectively being a walking skeleton. It's gross, and again, I didn't realize how funny this movie was going to be. That entire sequence in the cinema when you start seeing all of the other victims of the night before, it's it's terrifyingly funny, if that makes sense. Even the whole scene with him confessing to the police that he's the one that did the murders the night before, and him trying to cause a disturbance, trying to get arrested, and people not believing him, and just causing this massive commotion. It's really funny. But then again, you can see why this is a movie, because even peaceful protesters nowadays are just getting arrested for absolutely nothing. I really appreciate the fact that the Doctor isn't an imbecile and a non-believer when it comes to David's stories, and it doesn't go down what I was led to believe at the start about going through the same trope of no one believing David, even though it doesn't take fucking Sherlock to understand that maybe the scars on his chest and the bite marks doesn't come from just a regular insane bloke from Yorkshire. I mean, maybe Yorkshire. I don't know. I've only been up there once. Anyway, he actually goes off and inquires about the story when he starts getting skeptical to try and get information about what happened during the night of the attack. And like all the best movies, it comes down to the little details, and in this movie specifically, the details of the animals and how they interact with David when he is under the curse. And I really like how you should always trust a dog's instinct when it starts growling at you. Maybe you're the problem. And I guess also cats as well, trust their instinct, because they started acting a little bit iffy towards David. I'm not a fan of cats. They're they're just weird. They're selfish. They just want to take over the world, the little So a couple of negatives for me, which you could probably argue is more nitpicky than anything. It doesn't really matter in the grand scape of things, because I need to remember that this movie was made decades ago, and some things then probably weren't considered cliches as they are today, with, you know, the tropes of no one believing the victim when we know differently. To other extremes, I do find it quite weird how David is discharged from the hospital quite quickly and without very little pushback in regards to him confessing the fact that he's a werewolf. I mean, yeah, you shouldn't listen to him in anything that he says, because that's crazy talk, but probably put him in an insane ward, because you don't want him to go around start shouting that in the public. That's a bit weird. But at least David is upfront and honest about the curse that he is under and trying to convince everyone about it. He's not trying to keep it inside and embarrassed by the fact that he is going to turn into a werewolf. And another quote that I felt was a little bit off was when Alex says to David, "I'm torn between feeling sorry and being attracted to you." That's certainly a great way with trying to help someone get over their trauma. And lastly, I wasn't expecting this movie to have such an abrupt ending. I was quite surprised to see that it just immediately cut to credits after the whole ordeal of David turning back into a human form with bullet holes in him after being killed as a werewolf. It just ends. But overall, this movie, short, sweet, gets to the point, incredible practical effects. I can definitely see why this was considered a cult classic. And for me, I'm definitely going to be putting it on every single time Halloween rolls around. Love the movie. You should definitely go and watch it. It's incredible to see what they were able to achieve in making this movie, considering that the budget of it was approximately $5.8 million. Incredible. And at the worldwide box office, it earned $62 million, which is a huge commercial success. And no wonder they ended up making a sequel. I think it is called An American Werewolf in Paris. I haven't heard too many good things about it. So, like always with every Uneducated Opinion video, is the trailer any good? Let's give it a watch. I think I was able to find the original trailer that came out in 1981, and it's actually a really good trailer. It doesn't spoil too much in regards to the practical effects. You get to experience that from when you watch it for the first time. It doesn't give away too much of what the werewolf looks like. Again, the quick cuts. It gives good comedy moments, so you expect to see some of that when you go in to watch a movie for the first time. Yeah, good trailer. And I think that's about it. Thank you everybody so much for watching another Uneducated Opinion video. If you like to give it a like, if you didn't give it a dislike, give me constructive feedback on what I could do better for future videos. Comment down below. What did you think of the movie? Did you like it? Do you think it's overrated? Is it exactly what you think it is? Is it one of your favourite movies of all time, especially horror? Subscribe, ding the notification bell, share around your friends and family if you think they'd enjoy this sort of stuff. Give me suggestions of what movies to watch in the future. If you want to see me live, I'm on twitch.tv/Rizikins. I'm playing single player games where I'm coming to the end of Red Dead Redemption 2. I'm also playing games with my girlfriend Jem and my good friend Razzie. We just dick about playing Baldur's Gate 3. We do some Helldivers too. And that's about it. Thank you again for watching the video. Enjoy yourselves and enjoy the single ladies.